All right, planning and across, joining me now, senior political reporter Trudy McIntosh and senior reporter Carolyn Marcus. Well, welcome to you both. We'll start with the Trump meeting. More fallout today. It's run into the second day. The PM desperate to try and brush off any criticism. Have a listen.
The decision that he made, that meant that the meetings that were scheduled, not just with myself, but with India, Ukraine, including President Zelensky, Mexico, and other countries didn't go ahead today.
With everything that's happening in the world, your ties with these allies, potentially consideration of going to the NATO meeting?
Yes, that's being considered.
Trudy, in many respects, I feel for the Prime Minister here. I feel for his office. I've been there when these things have moved around beyond your control. He mentions the Mexican president there, and true, their meeting was cancelled between Trump and the president, but they got a phone call from Trump. We didn't. Now he's talking about junking his program for next week and heading off to NATO. So clearly he's made a call that this meeting now cannot wait until September, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, it seems like that this is now a live option, that he's going to go to The Hague to attend the NATO summit. That had not been the plan up until today. Richard Marles, the Defence Minister, was the one who was slated to go here. It shows you, as you say, they do want to secure this first face-to-face meeting. It had been telegraphed for such a long time as being at the sidelines of the G7 summit. Donald Trump suddenly pulls the rug out from under Anthony Albanese, but not just him. Ukraine's president was in the same situation. His country was under attack as he was flying to this summit.
He's had a meeting.
He goes all that way not to see. He has, that's true. But the reporting out of Ukraine is they were still disappointed that this is something that not just Australia is dealing with. How do you deal with a president whose schedule continues to change? You might, with all the best intentions, have it locked in and then it changes. That would be my worry for the PMP to going to NATO. You might go there and Donald Trump doesn't go, or at the last minute he has to leave. Does that a worse situation to attend for a second time and then be snubbed apparently again? I think it's risky to go. He's been to them in the past. There is a precedent for it. But, yeah, what a time in politics to be in.
Yeah, the problem with NATO too, I mean, we're not in the first 11 really in NATO, so he'll have a lot of other priority bilats in addition to the NATO deliberations, and obviously with the world at war in multiple theatres, NATO takes on a different significance. And you're right, if he gets there and something happens and the meeting doesn't happen for a second time, I think the problem is our PM has said a lot on the record that Trump knows about that's not been flattering. Trump obviously would read the wires coming out of the election campaign in Australia and saw that he was a figure of derision for Labor and used against Peter Dutton. He knows all of that. They still have not ever met face-to-face, 7 months into the job. We can talk about all those other leaders like Modi and the Mexican and Zelensky who were missed yesterday, but they've all met him. Our bloke hasn't met him, and we've got a long laundry list of issues, and we're not making ourselves popular because we keep snubbing them in relation to defence spending.
Yeah, it's just a tricky issue. The one thing that stood out to me before this election of Donald Trump again, Keir Starmer went privately to Trump Tower to meet Donald Trump in the very likelihood that he was going to be re-elected, that the UK Labor team thought it's better to try and lay the groundwork for a potential Trump second term. We didn't take that opportunity. The decision was made not to do that. So it does make this complicated. Anthony Albanese, the only upside I thought yesterday, Peter, is that tweet from Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, didn't come out during Anthony Albanese's press conference. He'd only just left in front of the press pack. Imagine that, being told by journalists to your face that your meeting's been cancelled. I think that was the one silver lining for him yesterday.
Yeah, you've got to take the small mercies where you can get them, don't you? Caroline, let's go to the news about the Liberal Party. They have officially announced their review process. It will be a review. Submissions are open until August. It'll be headed up by former New South Wales State Minister Prue Goward and, of course, Howard Government Cabinet Minister Nick Minchin. They're not just going to look at the campaign in this review, are they, though, Caroline? It's going to be quite comprehensive.
Well, they've got a really broad term of reference here, so they can really look at anything that they consider relevant to the election result. And it was a historically low result for the Liberal Party. So they'll be dissecting everything that could have contributed to that. I mean, they'll have a look, it's been said, at just the performance in general of the opposition during the last term of government. They'll look at how the vote went among different voter segments, and they'll also be having a look at the challenge from the Teals and how the Liberal Party might be able to meet that challenge. But of course, a lot of it is going to be taken up by looking in depth at the election campaign itself. It is due submissions at the 1st of August, so they've got 6 weeks and then till the end of the year to report back.
Let's hope it doesn't sit on the shelf like a lot of the other reviews in recent times. I think that's part of the problem as well. Hey, Trudy, what's going on the other side of the aisle? The Prime Minister, we're 5 weeks on from the election now. They've not released the staffing numbers. They've not secured their own staff. They've got some 600 positions where people are not yet confirmed, I'm told. We've got, about 80 or 90 for the coalition. There'll be other staff, obviously, around the crossbench and elsewhere. Now, come on, unless they get the staff into these ministers' offices, they really can't get to work. I don't know what's going on. You got any ideas?
Yeah, on both sides, I've spoken to staffers today, senior ones, Peter, and there is a level of uncertainty, particularly on the coalition side. People in senior roles who are doing the job are being paid because they had a job in the opposition before, but are technically not in the spot, so they can't actually travel as a part of their work. On the government side, it relies on the government staff as being locked in, then that allocation as a proportion going to the opposition. That's how these things work. But ultimately, it's up to the Prime Minister. A government source telling me today the decision's not yet been made. They're expecting it to happen within the coming days/weeks, noting that the Prime Minister's currently overseas, so potentially that'd be able to happen when he comes back. But as you say, a lot of uncertainty. They're the people we don't normally think that much about in politics, are you? The staff, and it is a lot of uncertainty for people turfed out or forced to move as a result of their bosses. Yeah.
And surely someone else in that office can use a computer. Come on, get on with it, get on with it. We want the government back and the country working again. Hey, speculation today that Josh Frydenberg might be having another tilt at federal politics. There's been a new executive elected for the Kooyong branch out in the east of Melbourne. It's been joined with the old Higgins branch. The seat of Higgins, of course, has been abolished. And, quote, a whole lot of Josh people have been elected. Now, this one's interesting for me here, Caroline, because Amelia Hamer contested that seat. She obviously narrowly lost there to Monique Ryan. And all the people who said Hamer's a sort of young person, a young woman we want to see in politics, are now all the same people saying, well, she's got to move to one side because we want Josh to get the job. They're also the same people who say the Liberal Party must have quotas.
I think when push comes to shove, Liberal Party members on the whole are going to be backing someone who they see as not only a potential Liberal leader, a future Liberal leader, but someone who could be future Liberal Prime Minister. And that's always how Josh Frydenberg has been viewed. Look, it would mean, obviously, he would need to have another crack at it, but there's been rumours for a long time and he refuses to say whether that's the case. But I think he'd be stupid not to, given how close Amelia Hamer came at unseating Monique Ryan. I think he would have been watching that very closely and thinking what we're all thinking right now, that he's going to have another go. I don't care how good the pay and the hours are at Goldman Sachs compared to his political job. I think some people are just conviction politicians, and I dare say Josh Frydenberg is among them, and he never got to fulfil his ambitions of becoming Prime Minister one day. So I have no doubt we will see him again. And now the chair position, the treasurer position, the membership officer position have all gone to Josh loyalists. I dare say we will see him pre-selected at the next election.